What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be going over my top 5 hamstring exercises that you can do, and these are going to be in no particular order. So I think so far I've done quads and chest, so I thought, you know what? Let's do the rear side of the legs, so the opposite of the quads, I guess, the hamstrings. So without further ado, and these are in no particular order, so these 5 exercises are all fantastic hamstring builders. So, the first exercise on my list is going to be the seated hamstring curl. I think this exercise is amazing, and some things I think you should do to modify it slightly to maybe get a little more benefit in the hamstrings is to lean forward with your hips. Don't round your lower back when you're leaning forward, or else that's just going to stretch your spinal erectors and not your hamstrings. So you want to maintain a neutral lower back and just bend forward so you're kind of like sitting upright with your legs straight. But I will say, if that makes you feel unstable or whatever, then it's probably better just to sit back. I would just recommend maybe moving the seat further up so you can still get a little bit more of that forward lean. Now, the other benefit of the seated leg curl that I really like is that it locks you in place. Because that has that pad on top of your quads, you're really set in stone, locked in place. So you're not really going to be cheating or moving on this movement. And it's also, I find seated leg curls, the resistance profile to be really good because it's a little bit harder at the top end of the range of motion, which is where our hamstrings are going to be the most stretched. So seated leg curl, a fantastic exercise to do, and I think you guys should definitely include it if you're trying to bring up your hamstrings. Next exercise, it's going to be the lying leg curl, and while I do think both the seated and lying leg curls are both fantastic for building the hamstrings, I would give the slight edge to the seated leg curl because it can provide more stretch. But that's not to say the lying leg curl isn't a bad movement. It definitely is, and it's been shown in research to be a very effective exercise to grow the hamstrings. Again, you're curling with your legs, so there are 4 heads of the hamstring, so all 4 heads cross the knee joint, so you're going to work all 4 heads of your hamstrings. The only thing I would say is almost on this movement is you really want to try and push your hips into the pad. If you start letting your ass come up and stuff, it's going to be taking some of the tension away from the hamstrings. So that's the only thing I'm not a huge fan of here, is because it's a lot easier to cheat on the seated leg curl compared to the lying leg curl compared to the seated. But if you do them both properly, they're both fantastic exercises that will absolutely light up your hamstrings. So those 2 exercises we talked about were all leg curl exercises, but now we are going to move on to exercises that, if you didn't know, the hamstrings, or 3 out of the 4 heads of the hamstring, also cross the hip joints. So they're going to be affected by our hip position. So we're going to go over some exercises now where you move your hips forward and back. So the first one I'm going to list is going to be the deficit barbell Romanian deadlift. I think this exercise is fantastic. Now, the one caveat is only 3 heads of the hamstring cross the hip joint. So that 4th head, because you're not extending and flexing the knee or whatever, will not actually be worked on an RDL. So overall, if you could only pick one hamstring exercise, I think it would be smarter to pick a leg curl so all 4 of those heads get worked. But that's not to say the RDL can't grow the other 3 heads equally, if not better. And because, it's a little easier to progressive overload on RDLs, and also if you do it in a deficit, you can get a lot more range of motion. I would definitely recommend you doing it in a deficit so you can get that extra range of motion, because if you don't, then it's going to become solid against the floor. It's still a great exercise, but I think you can just level it up that little bit more if you do it in a deficit so you can get more range of motion. And I would also definitely recommend using straps on this exercise so your grip doesn't become a limiting factor. But if you can do that, I think the RDL is a fantastic hamstring exercise that will absolutely blow up those hamstrings. The next exercise is, I'm gonna call it the Janicki Dumbbell RDL, because Eric Janicki does this, and I actually tried it. I haven't filmed it, like I haven't done it in a video or whatever, but it's actually a fantastic exercise. So basically what he's doing is he has a barbell like pressed up on his quads, so it gives him a lot more stability, and then he's standing up on like boxes or some elevated surface so we can get even more range of motion on the hamstrings. And because he has that stability, it's not gonna allow him to fall over and stuff. So I do think this is a fantastic movement that can get even more stretch on the hamstrings compared to the barbell RDL, and I think it's absolutely gonna light up your hamstrings. Again, it is a hip flexion exercise, so, or hip extension or whatever, so you're only going to be hitting 3 of the 4 heads. But as far as hip hinge movements go, I think these 2 are probably like the 2 best you can do for growing your hamstrings. So I definitely think you should include them because they're a compound lift, easy to progressive overload. So I think these 2 are absolutely staples that you should be doing. And you know what? I know I said top 5 exercises, but I'm just trying to think right now. I don't know if there is another one, to be honest. I know, okay, something that did come to mind to me was maybe a Smith machine good morning, but I gotta be honest, that just doesn't feel as comfortable to me because you got the bar on your neck or whatever, and then, I don't know, I feel like you can't get as much range of motion, or else you'll just completely fall like face first on the ground. So I don't think that is as good as a traditional RDL. You could maybe make the argument for like a standard dumbbell RDL. I think that works too, but I think that kind of falls under the barbell RDL. Like, I think they're so similar that it's not really a completely different exercise. Now, the Janicki RDL, I would say, is because it has that added barbell supporting your quads so you don't track forward as much. So, I don't know. I think it's just going to be these 4. I know I said 5, but I don't really think there is a 5. I know there is one exercise in particular. Okay, you know what? Okay, these are the 4 that I really like, but I'm going to give you a 5th that I really, really hate, and that has to be the standing leg curl. Oh my god, this exercise is dog shit. I hate it so much. There's 2 reasons why I really hate it. One is you have to do single leg. I hate doing that. It takes twice as long. Actually, there's kind of 3 things. And 2, it doesn't provide the biggest stretch on the hamstring, which is not a huge deal, but I think it's a minor one. It's not as much as the seated leg curl. It's about the same as the lying leg curl, but again, a little bit of a nerf there. And also, the resistance profile is so bad. It's like, oh my god. I mean, it's been a while since I've actually done it because I can't do it at home anyway. I know the Good Life I go to actually does have one, but it's such a dog shit exercise. I haven't done it in so long, but I know the resistance curve on that thing is so bad. I think it's really hard it's very difficult at the top, and then at the bottom it's just so easy, which is kind of the opposite the way you want it. You want it hardest at the more lengthened part of the position and easier in the contraction, which is just the complete opposite way on this exercise. I think it's dog shit. I think the other 2 leg curl variations are just way better exercises. So if you're gonna do a leg curl, do those other 2. So those are my 4 best exercises, and then the one there that I really, really hate. I think you can make an argument for the Smith machine good morning. I definitely wouldn't do a barbell because then you'll probably literally, actually, I think that's a little more dangerous, I can't lie, because then at least with the Smith machine, you're more stable, and I think stability is really important there. But again, it kind of hurts my neck. I don't think you can go as deep, or else you'll just fall completely forward. So for me, not in the top 5. So those are my 4 exercises. Let me know if you guys agree with me. If there's another exercise maybe I missed that you would also have in here. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.